Hello and welcome to Disc Review, the podcast that goes track by track through a different album each week.
And we're your hosts, Max and Matt. Join us as we explore some of our favorite records.
No, I'm a fan, I swear.
I feel like I've become a music normie.
I'm tired of being Mr. Positive Guy.
Dude, that's not human.
This is certifiably the most boring album I've ever heard.
And there's a reason they don't do it, because it's terrible.
We hope you enjoy the show. Let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome back to Disc Review. We took a little break, as we usually do after we put out an episode. We've been super busy with school and work, but here we are coming at you with a Taylor Swift review. We haven't done any of Taylor Swift's albums, even though, Matt, I believe you're a pretty big fan, so...
Well, yeah, I was shocked when I realized we hadn't done any, but this was an album I have been listening to recently for a while. I got a lot of thoughts on it, and it just kind of changed my mind on like how big of a Taylor Swift fan I am. Because I was always like, I would listen to her stuff, and I was like, yeah, it's good, like, but I don't know if I'm like going to go to her concerts or anything. You're like, I'm not going to, but you know what? After this, I'm fully on board. I should have gone to Eras Tour. But at the time,
the tickets
I was
are so
like,
expensive.
I know at the time I was like, I don't know if it's worth it for me. Like I would now. I'd pay the money now, and I definitely would go. Maybe I'll go see I think the concert show is going to theaters, so there's that for me.
Yeah, didn't she just announce that she's doing another leg of the American tour?
Is she? Well, I'm a fan, but I don't pay attention to
back.
social media, so maybe I should.
Well, I only know because my wife said that she said something like, hey, if you missed me on this American tour, I'm coming back.
That's good. I'll take a look then. But this album is Folklore, an album I didn't expect to be reviewing first or at all because I hadn't listened to this album until this year. I don't think I'd even heard a single song off it. It just kind of came out in an era of like pandemic albums where I'm just like, or quarantine albums, you know, that's really what it is. Like, it's really stripped back and a different style, and I just kind of wrote it off and was like, I'm not even gonna try it out. But I finally did this year. I think like one song, I'll talk about it later, came on just from like my recommended on Spotify when it just kind of shuffles through its recommendations, and I loved it, and I just kept slowly one by one listening to more of the album until I'd finally listened to the whole thing. But I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like we've had the opposite experience with Taylor Swift then, because I have never sat down and listened to any of her albums except for this one. When it came out, I just heard that it was different, and I was like, well, you know, I'd be fine checking out something different, so I threw it on, and I had it in my rotation for a few weeks. Like, I really enjoyed the album. I liked the feel of it. Reminded me of music that was playing in my house when I was growing up. So, yeah, this is the album I know the best out of all of Taylor Swift's albums. I've never really sat down and listened to her more poppy ones.
Well, yeah, I usually need like a big pop song to like hook me in, like a big single or something I'm hearing on the radio is usually what gets me interested.
And this one had no singles.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest song was probably Cardigans. The only one like I knew the name of, but I didn't feel like I ever heard the song on the radio or anything. But I think another problem that kind of held me back from listening to this was it's called Folklore, and a running gag I feel like kind of for me on this channel is going to be I just despise folk music in general. I don't really vibe with it most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's odd that I've grown to like this one because I think I knew I wasn't going to like it just from its folky nature, just right off the bat.
Yeah, I have a pretty love-hate relationship with folk music. Like, I don't despise it, but it's hard to get me
I've calmed
hooked
down
into
on
it.
that now. But yeah, I just like had an era. I did not want to listen to any folk, anything that was even folky. Nope.
Yeah. Well, this album was a surprise release. Taylor Swift didn't say anything about it, do any marketing, put out any singles. It was just one day she said, hey, I have a new album out, and you should go listen to it. And that alone is enough to get me like interested, pique my curiosity, because I'm so sick of musicians dropping like 6 or 7 singles and then expecting me to care about the
years
album
ago and that they don't care about anymore, and the passion's not there, and they're just they have to delay it because the record label wants it to be released on this time of this year, and Yeah, I get it. Like I don't love how music is released nowadays. So and this just makes more sense for the modern era where you can make something, upload it instantly. And the passion's still there.
I also think I'm getting a little not very happy with the way singles are in general, just like the style of them, because I feel like everyone thinks that they have to do. Well, before the style was write 3 really good singles and then the rest of the album is deep cuts.
It can mostly be bad songs because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People will buy it
Exactly.
just to listen to the singles, so the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. Just fill it out with 11 songs and you're good.
Right. And now I feel like people are like, well, we can't do that anymore. Every song has to be as good as a single. And they've kind of gone towards that. But I feel like going towards that route, you lose some of the personality, because I feel like a lot of the personality comes out in the deep cuts. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the changes in style, a lot of the risks taken are not on the pop singles. And this album is pretty much all deep cuts, but they're really good. They're really personal and fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for deep cuts being better. I feel like an album can definitely be hindered by having bad deep cuts, even if it's more like has more personality to the artist. Like if they're just not good, it really does hold back the album as a whole. So writing good deep cuts, I agree. But yeah, they shouldn't all be written as a single or in that style. They definitely should be allowed to do something different and be unique, mix it up on the deep cuts. That's what makes a good album for sure.
Yeah, one band that comes to mind when I think of like just like really weird bad deep cuts is Maroon 5.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. They are the ones who write 3 great singles and then just fill out the rest of an album with songs they don't care about. I mean, that might not be true. They might care, but it just feels like the jump in quality is so drastic that I don't know. It's noticeable for sure.
Yeah. Well, so let's take a look at this album art real quick. And I want to put a disclaimer before we go into the deep dive of this album. There are a lot of songs, a lot of tracks, so this will probably be a longer episode. If you are not feeling it, just skip to the ones that you want to hear us talk about, because I think there's a lot of really great ones mixed in here. And if you're getting bored on some of the songs, maybe you just don't really care that much about, please feel free to skip towards the middle or towards the end to hear about some other great songs, because it's going to be a little long, and we're going to probably, once we get into the groove of it, we'll probably rapid fire a few of them if we're not really feeling them as much. But this album art, I think, really fits the tone of this record. It's muted. There's
really
no
good
color. Yeah, it's just really, it's a pretty picture.
Recognizable. You know exactly what it is.
So I just like it for that. I mean, Taylor Swift obviously has a lot of very interesting artwork. I don't really, there's a couple that I might say are bad, but mainly just because they didn't have personality, and this one has a lot of personality in it.
Yeah, it really fits the theme. Like this one is, styled differently, and the artwork reflects that for sure.
Jumping into the track by track.
All right, man, you ready to jump in and talk about these songs individually?
I am, but with one more disclaimer. We are not Swifties. I don't know all the lore. We're just 2 dudes who think she's a great songwriter and want to talk about the songs we've heard and what we like. But yeah, I mean, I might be missing out on a lot of the lore here. I think some of these songs are telling some stories I don't fully understand.
Yeah, and you know what? You maybe should have... maybe we should have pretended to be Swifties, because I feel like Swifties are a really crazy fan base, and if they hear that we aren't into every single thing that she's ever done, they might come for our heads.
They're not going to listen to this, yeah.
But also, if you have beef with Taylor Swift, I just want you to know that she is objectively an amazing songwriter. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. You can't hate on her songwriting. There's a lot of like memes going around about her songs like being generic.
I haven't
and, like,
seen that. That's not true.
Her
success is from the songwriting. That is like at the center of her success, and she deserves it. That she's that good.
Haven't you seen that big trend where someone made an audio that's like supposed to sound like a Taylor Swift song, but it's obviously like super cringe and corny?
No.
And it's like what Taylor Swift sounds like to normal people. That's a big trend that's going on right now.
Yeah, that's not deserved. I think people just want to hate. If someone gets, she's getting really, really big, bigger than she's ever been. It feels like. So I think people are finally like, we got to take her down a peg or whatever. I don't feel like she deserves that hate. I don't get where that's coming from.
The only Taylor Swift lore I know is that period semi-recently where she was dating Maddie Healy.
Dude, that was never confirmed, okay? That was just on Twitter. I want to see one picture.
It was
one
rumors.
picture and I'll believe it.
Well, people were saying that they were like doing like secret codes on stage to like reference each other.
I think
obviously that's very
I
conspiratory,
think people
but
wanted some drama.
yeah.
We won't speak on that. We don't know what happened.
Anyways, the first song is called The One. This song sets the tone really well for the rest of the album, which is really important because of the style that Taylor went for, because she hadn't really explored this style up to this point. Having no marketing leading up to the release, the fans were kind of thrown in ultra blind. And so having the beginning be very by the books compared to the rest of the album, I think was a really good choice. The chorus is great. Probably one of the best choruses on the album, just right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, this is got that mellow, atmosphere that the whole album is kind of based on. And I think just starts it off on a good note, kind of gets you introduced to the style. I don't think it's my favorite off the record. I think it's one that just serves its function as an opener.
And then we have Cardigan, which was the one that you said that you had maybe heard previously. It was probably one of the bigger ones. This one and the next one were probably actually, there's a few on here that were maybe talked about quite a bit, but this is my favorite song on the album, Cardigan. I attribute it to my mom, who listened to music that sounded exactly like this when I was growing up. So I've always had an affinity for it. The piano melody is real. It just drives it forward, and it's supported by some sort of organ in the background, which I think makes it more energetic. And you'd expect it, to be sad, and it is kind of sad, but it's got some energy there. Another thing I wanted to bring up here is that Taylor's a master lyricist, and she uses so many interesting tactics to write good songs with powerful meanings and messages. This song takes one word, cardigan, and turns it into a metaphor about how she feels. And I think it's one of the coolest things about art, that you can take meaning where there is no meaning.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I like about this album is a lot of the songs are just beautiful, and that's kind of how I feel about this one with the strings in the background. It just sounds so nice to listen to. I really like this one too. I get why they picked it. I think this is the lead single, even though it's a surprise release, but it's definitely one of the biggest songs. And I agree, she's always telling a story and paints a picture that you can both imagine but also put yourself into. It's not so descriptive that you can't use your imagination, but you're definitely put into a place and a feeling really, really well. She always does that with her lyrics. And I'm pretty sure this one is part of this is some of the lore I know after looking up the lyrics on what is it called? Genius Lyrics or whatever. There's a couple that are telling a story that are connected. Someone else can talk about this better than me on YouTube for sure. But I think this is the one that's the perspective of, I think they're all in high school and she got cheated on. And then the other one's the guy's perspective. And then one is the other girl's perspective. There's some lyrics that line up just about some events and stuff. I don't know. It is really cool. How even on this record, I feel more than any, it's definitely telling stories about others rather than just herself, her character, right, in these scenarios. This one is definitely branching out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really cool. And if you want to hear more details on that, go to Anthony Fantano's channel, because that guy's a freaking nerd.
No way we can start
I know
beef.
what you. Yeah, dude, I'd love to start beef with Anthony, because then people would actually listen to us.
That's true.
So I get what you mean, though, that Cardigan's kind of like a single, even though there wasn't any singles, because I feel like this album still has that thing where the single type songs are right at the front. Cardigan through Exile, I feel like are very single material.
I agree.
So The next song is The Last Great American Dynasty. This song also uses a really interesting and cool lyric style where you tell a story about some random person, and then by the end it's revealed that she is that person. I was a little kind of confused because I only listened to it a couple times, but I thought it was kind of interesting, or at least, akin to that person in some way. The chorus says she had a marvelous time ruining everything, and then by the final chorus it's all flipped on its head where she says, I had a marvelous time ruining everything. I just think that sort of stuff is fun.
Yeah. I like this song. I haven't spent enough time listening to looking at the lyrics. I know it's kind of like set in a different period about, now I don't remember her name. Harkness. I know that's the one thing. Another thing I know about Folklore, Rebecca Harkness. But I think it is like a catchy song, and it's a fun groove.
Then we have Exile. This song uses the piano melody as a vocal melody as well. They kind of follow each other with a little bit of variation at times, but it's kind of a bold move to do that because it takes the complexity of having the instrumentals and the vocals having different but complementary melodies. It just simplifies that down a lot. I think the pros of this are that the listener can focus more on the lyrics, which is really great for this song, and could maybe draw some more emotional experience out of it. And I guess it also just lets the good melody shine really hard. My favorite part of the song is the ending where they go back and forth and sing to each other. It kind of reminds me of a duo, Alex and Sierra. Have you ever listened to them?
No.
They're a really good duo that sings love songs where like it's a guy and a girl and they sing like back and forth a lot, and their voices really complement each other. But their music completely self-destructed because they were dating and they broke up, and so now they're not a group anymore.
That's dangerous. Yep.
It is dangerous.
Yeah, this is a really good duet. One of my favorites. Can we talk about how good Taylor's bridges are? I feel like one of the reasons why our songs are so good are the bridges. There's that song Cruel Summer is like blowing up on the radio right now, even though it came out 4 years ago. Which, by the way, when I first heard that Lover album, I was like, clearly this is like the standout song, and it did fine, but it didn't blow up on the radio like it is now. And I was really surprised by that for a long time. And then recently, I don't know if it was TikTok or the tour or kind of all of it, giving it a second life. But I think the bridge, like the whole song's good, but that bridge is so exceptional. She does that on a lot of her songs, but the bridge here is definitely my favorite. It's that same part that you're talking about with the outro. It's really similar to that where they're like singing back and forth. It's just the melodies are so great. You just get lost in it.
And next we got My Tears Ricochet. This song is really somber and has a lot of emotion packed into it. I like the line, I didn't have it in me to go with grace. I think back on times where I've left relationships or friendships in less than graceful ways. But in the end, I was just doing my best with the emotional strength and maturity I had to work with at that time. So I think this song is pretty good, even though it's probably not the strongest melodically.
I like this one a lot. This is one of my favorites. It's emotional, and I really like, for this style of music, I do kind of want it to be sad and be in my feels with it. So it really serves that, well for me. And it's just, this is one of the tracks I feel like on this record I can definitely just get lost in and feel it. Like I'm not really so focused on like the lyrics, like trying to paint the perfect story to it, but just the feelings of it kind of just work for me.
We have Mirror Ball. I think up to this point on the record, we've had a pretty relentless stack of great songs.
Yeah.
After this one, I feel like there's a little bit of a slump in the album. But of course, there's got to be a slump somewhere.
Yeah, there's a couple I could
songs.
pick as weak points, but that's normal.
Yeah. Is a mirror ball another word for a disco ball?
I don't know. That's kind of what I always assumed.
Okay, for some reason, when I first heard it, my mind went to like crystal ball, but that can't be right.
No,
and I was a little confused because I've never heard that term before, but I think the little video that they paired with it on Spotify shows a disco ball. So
Yeah.
A disco ball, it makes sense. And she says things like spinning in my highest heels, which again leads me to believe that she's talking about a disco ball. But yeah, I don't know. I'd never heard that word before.
Yeah, me neither. But this, I mean, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite. I'm going to keep saying this, but this is definitely one of my favorites. I just think the melodies are so good. And again, you can get lost in this. The bridge just brings a lot of energy and emotion. And I feel like this one, more than a lot, like just sounds like a classic Taylor song that she kind of put into this style. And I feel like that helps it be more poppy and catchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I wrote about this later, so I'll probably mention it again. But a lot of these songs sound like they could have been huge pop hits, but they're just so pared down for this album.
I agree.
And it's like I could take it either way. It's probably a great song either way, which really is a testament to her writing style. Because if you can make a good song, it'll be good no matter what style it's in.
Yeah. I mean, we're not reviewing this album, but the sister album of this, Evermore, has the biggest song on there is Willow, I think. And that's one similar style to this kind of music, but there's a remix she put out of it that's like poppy, and I'm like, this could have just been a straight up radio hit on as a pop song.
Yeah.
With this, it's crazy how well that transitions. You wouldn't really expect it, but she really is just kind of writing pop songs because that's what she's great at, and then kind of adapting it into any style she wants, which is really impressive.
The next song is 7. I think this song marks a little bit of a drop off here. Like I mentioned before, this song just isn't all that interesting to me, although I still do like the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's more about the melodies that aren't memorable to me. The song...
It's not as standout, I'd say, as the rest.
Yeah,
with such exceptional melodies, this is just a kind of standard, quality. This one it's definitely harmed by where it is next to all these other really exceptional tracks, but it definitely is one that I don't think of as much.
It still seems to have a pretty personal message, which is to grow up and lose some of the freedoms that are naturally embodied in children who just really don't care what people think of them and can run and jump and climb and scream with nothing holding them back. So yeah, her lyrics are always interesting to me. I don't think there's a song where I'm like, ew, those lyrics were... Actually, no, there is a song where I thought the lyrics were weird. We'll get to that.
Next track is August. This one's kind of blown up a little bit on TikTok and stuff. It just really is catchy. I think someone added an instrumental behind an emotional part of the song. But yeah, this is another one of my favorites. It's so catchy and easily probably the one I'll put on first.
This is a pretty quintessential high school summer sad song because it talks about how one August she had a fling with a guy, and
that's what I'm talking. This is the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
This is the other woman perspective. She's like, you were never mine, and they recounts the same. I think the same event is mentioned in 2 or 3 of them. She's picking him up, getting in the car and whatever. Anyways, the lyrics are really great in this. They paint a really good story.
I do love when songs connect. I think that just builds more lore and more something for people who really love Taylor Swift to deep dive into and experience a higher level of the art instead of just listening to the songs. You can make connections and stuff. But the next song is This Is Me Trying. This might be my least favorite song on the album. It's not bad. It's just not particularly good to me. It's got nothing exciting happening. There's not much emotion in the voice. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I picked this as my top track, although it was hard to pick. Well, this is the one that got me into it. This is the one that came on through Spotify recommended, and I just fell in love with the style of the song. I don't know, the sound of it is so good. It's so unique. And there's just some great lines. I just like the way it's sung and the melody. I don't know.
Well, let me give a little background as to how we kind of do these reviews. Is one of us will say, hey, let's review this album, and so for the next day or so, I'll throw them on in the background and I'll just listen. And it's a somewhat deep dive, but I'm really only listening to each song once or twice. So I definitely come around on songs that I've previously said on this show that I did not like. So If Matt says it's good, it probably is good, and I probably just need to listen to it more. It just didn't catch me right at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. I mean, we don't tell each other why we wanted to review an album. We don't tell if, we don't say, I think this album's good, listen to it. We don't say anything. We
Yeah.
don't say what songs are the ones we liked or anything. Completely blind and completely separate to kind of give like genuine two sides and opinions on something. So yeah, that's kind of how things like that happen. But yeah, I don't know. The bridge just is definitely the highlight. Like kind of the strings and everything crescendos and it just gets really big. And I like that kind of stuff. It's kind of a journey going through this song.
So the next song is Illicit Affairs, and I think I have a problem with this song just on a fundamental level. It's called Illicit Affairs, and without any context, I would say an affair isn't necessarily bad. I mean, like 9 times out of 10, it is bad, but there's room for nuance. But calling it an illicit affair literally implies it's wrong, right? Like she's just singing about this immoral relationship she's in. And I feel like usually when I'm listening to music, a lot of the point is usually to be on the side of the singer, right? You're usually rooting for them in their shoes. I don't know. I didn't feel like I could put myself in the shoes of this person or like care about them or like them very much. I don't know. What did you think?
I just feel like on this album, we've already kind of had like a theme of people making mistakes and also like different perspectives to things that like that doesn't bother me. I'm definitely sometimes can be, I mean, we've talked a lot about like how a moral disconnect with, the content of a song can kind of put us off on it. So we've definitely like had that opinion. I don't know. This one didn't bother me at all. I haven't really looked into like what is the story, what is the illicit affair. I don't know. I just kind of got lost in like, especially again the bridge. I'm gonna say that a lot is so good. The "Don't call me kid, don't call me baby" kind of like that emotion of being belittled and not put your decisions on perspective. Kind of like you can tap into that without having to put it one for one on that scenario. So I still really like this one.
Well, I'm definitely not trying to get on a moral high horse here because I've got my own problems, but I just felt like I couldn't see any of myself in the song, which could be a good thing, I guess. Maybe that means I need to expand my horizons when I listen to music, but yeah. The next song is Invisible String. For the most part, I think it was a really good idea to make this album in this style. It's really unique and adds a lot of flavor to Taylor Swift's discography. But this song, I think, might have been better as a pop song. Like, the melody just lends itself to a big production style with upbeat drums and strong synths and stuff. But that being said, I really like how it is in this one as well.
Yeah, this one's a little more upbeat, and I think is a good break from... We've had a lot of, like, downer and emotional songs. This is definitely a good spot in the album to mix it up, and I think it really justifies its spot on the album.
Then we have Mad Woman. This song is about a topic that I don't really have any experience with since I'm a man, but it is still really interesting to listen to the perspective of a woman as she sings about something that I've heard a lot of other women talk about, which is like being called crazy just for like being energetic or like being put down or like called like angry when you're just like passionate, stuff like that. So it's definitely interesting to listen to that perspective and kind of take it in.
I agree. I think she's always been really good at writing songs like this that are, making a point and making you understand. Like I said, we don't come from experience with this, but it's really easy to like empathize through her songs sometimes, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's really good lyrically. Really strong.
And that's another huge bonus of music is like I don't have to experience everything to get where you're coming from and kind of experience your emotions through you and through your song. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Then we have Epiphany. This one is really interesting, but also really confusing to me. I can see that there is some deep meaning within the lyrics, and they sound really beautiful. I just don't really know what it's trying to say. there's a lot of talk about war and medical problems, but I think I just wasn't seeing the grander picture here. It feels very meticulous, like there is a deep meaning there. I just couldn't.
Yeah. I don't think I've really come to a conclusion on it, but it definitely feels like different lives and different experiences and problems. And some of, all of these are really sad. I don't know. And just, it's such a beautiful sounding song and atmospheric.
Oh yeah.
I love it for that. And I feel like when I'm listening to it, I'm definitely like experiencing someone, like, trying to imagine someone else's life going through these, hard things and the way that feels. I think it does a good job painting that picture for me.
And then we have Betty. This is the second album in a row that we've reviewed that has a song named after a person that talks directly to them. Do you think you'd ever be so bold to write a song about a person and use their actual name?
Well, definitely not. But I think this is the one. This is the one that's from the guy's perspective, and Betty's the girl he wants back. He's a little delusional, thinking, I guess, he's just going to show up and win her back, at least in my opinion. But I don't know, maybe he can do it. Maybe he can get her back.
Yeah, my favorite line in this song is where it says, "I won't make assumptions," but then the next few lines are like big assumptions. So
I'm of the opinion, this is supposed to show he ain't super bright or sensitive to other people's emotions.
I also love the line, "The worst thing I ever did was what I did to you." That's just a solid line right there.
It is a great line. It's a really good song. I love this one. All three of these connected songs are really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about the background behind those. But the second to last, right? Yep, two more. Second to last song is Peace. I think the best thing that this song does is pose the question, would it be enough if I could never give you peace? It's got a good introspective aspect to it. Other than that, I think it's a little more on the boring side, but just like the rest of the songs that I had negative things to say about, it's not a bad song.
Yeah.
There are no bad songs on here. Just some of them aren't as interesting to me.
I agree. I think this is one of the few where I think is just like atmospheric and matches the tone that it kind of just, you can continue listening to the album and stay in that feeling. But yeah, it might not stand on its own as much. It's good with the package for sure, but definitely not one of my favorites.
Well, we'll end this thing off here with Hoax. This is the last song on the album. I think it's really cool to end this album on a song named Hoax because it ties it back to the title of the album, Folklore. I really just like a nicely packaged album, and this one feels like a complete body of work from front to back, and I really love that it ends on a soft, slow, sad song. It's probably my favorite way to end an album.
I agree. I was just blown away by this album. It's definitely a lesson to me of like, don't just judge something based on your own, I don't like folk and I don't want to listen to a quarantine album. I want to listen to her big pop, super produced, records only. And I definitely missed out for a long time on that. So this was just, I want to talk about that for that reason of a good, even when you think, you fully understand something about, an album, you probably don't until you've listened to it. This one deserved my attention and my time, and I was really glad I got to finally come around on it.
Yeah, I think these songs are definitely going to be in rotation for me for a while. Maybe it'll help turn me into a Swiftie. I don't know. I literally have zero experience with the rest of your music other than just hearing it like on the radio and stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff. She really is so good.
So yeah, I'll have to, and I'm sure we'll review more of her albums, which will give me more experience with her other styles, which will be a lot of fun. So you say Evermore is a lot like this one?
Yeah, it's the same style. I'm pretty sure they're like basically from the same sessions and
cool.
Kind of a continuation of, I don't have as much experience with that. I just got through Folklore, so now I got to get through Evermore too and kind of come to a greater understanding of those songs. I've only heard it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. You have anything else to say about this record?
Not really. I think we nailed it, and I look forward to doing. We'll probably do all our albums over the course of however long it takes us.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. All right, thank you for everyone listening. We appreciate you. Please subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Whatever you want to do. We want to talk to you guys and experience more of a community on this channel. So, yeah, thank you. We'll see you later.